All right, we're going to go ahead and get started here. Welcome to all of you that'll listen to this. We're going to talk a little bit tonight about forestry and then a little bit about the Forestry Project. So I just want to go over a little bit of what the objectives are of the lesson and how it relates to the actual project, which is obviously your means of assessment in this. So hopefully you've read through the lesson and after you've gone through the lesson and gone through the questions and you're ready to start the project, really the project is looking for you to be able to compare and contrast the types of forestry, um, particularly um, the types of growth that are found in forests. Talk a little bit and be able to explain some of the ecological and the economic services that forests provide. Understand what human impacts are on forests, discuss some of the environmental effects that result from deforestation, and then be able to talk about how fires are beneficial or forest fires are beneficial in some cases or harmful in other cases to forest ecosystems. So those are the objectives that hopefully you have understood as you've gone through the lesson. So I want to just take a few minutes here and just talk a little bit about some of the main points in the lesson before we get into the project. Um, but if you remember, some of you might, some recent seasons, if you've watched the news, about these intensely huge forest fires that have affected particularly the western part of the United States. And that has been a result of the extremely dry conditions that have resulted from, inadequate amounts of rainfall over recent years in the Pacific, really the Pacific Southwest, in paired with the mismanagement of lands that have really contributed to these fires and the increase in fires in recent years. Now, with that, there's also been some instances where these fires were caused on purpose or out of carelessness. Um, but regardless, when you look at other continents, particularly South America, a lot of destruction has taken place such that large areas of forest habitats and the loss of forest habitats can actually be seen from space or from Google Earth. Okay, so it's a concern, and it's a major concern because we need to protect forests. And we need to understand the environmental effects that reducing our forests have on us as a whole. Okay, so um, think about your lifestyle. Okay, think about your ecological and economic lifestyle as it relates to forests. Okay, what would your lifestyle be affected if all of our forest lands were lost? Okay, I'm sure you can think of a lot of ways that this would directly affect you, and I want you to keep that in mind as you're thinking about doing this project. Okay, in addition to that, I want you to think about forest management. Okay, think about the harvesting of trees for timber, or think about the deforestation of tropical rainforest and how it results in widespread loss of environmental damages like soil fertility and erosion and runoff and wildlife habitat, increases in carbon dioxide in the atmosphere because we're losing green plants. Okay, we've talked about a lot of topics in the first half of this year, and we're starting to all put it together with these projects towards the end. Okay, so think about what you can do to help preserve this limited natural resource that we have. Okay, um, so with that, let's go forward and let's take a few minutes and talk about um, the project. Okay, so this forestry project really is simple. It's there's 6 questions, And what you're going to do is I want you to put some thought and some real thought into these questions. It says answer the following short questions with one complete paragraph each. You can use a Word document or you can write it certainly below, but I think a Word document probably would be easier for you to do it. In this case, and I want you to be able to support your answers with research and evidence. So you're going to have to go out and you're going to have to attach some works cited to this. Okay. Um, with that, here are the 6 questions. Logging trees first. Logging trees is often controversial. Why would some people support logging and some people not support logging? Okay, so really, what I'm asking you for in this is your opinion, research supported, why some people would support and some people wouldn't, and I want you to think about it from an industrial standpoint and a business standpoint. Okay, so that should give you an idea of how and where to look for this question, okay? And make sure that you support your answer with research from legitimate websites, okay? Second, describe one way fire is beneficial to a forest and one way it's harmful, okay? So if it were me, what I would suggest is you go back into the lesson, okay, and particularly look into the lesson with regards to the section on forest fires and where they talk specifically about the 2 different types of fires, crown fires and surface fires specifically, and talk about the ways that they're beneficial and they're not. Okay. Third, why is the connection between poverty, population growth, and deforestation? Okay, so what I'm looking for here are I want you to take a look at a global scale, um, countries where populations have either grown or shrunk, and how industry, particularly the deforestation of those areas, have affected that. Okay, and that should give you what you need to answer that question. The fourth question, why are old growth forests often more ecologically valuable than second growth forests? Again, I would suggest going back into the lesson and review that area in the lesson on old growth forests versus second growth forests, and be able to come up with a nice paragraph long legitimate answer that really gives the pros of old growth forests versus second growth forests. Fifth question, how does clear cutting compare with selective cutting, and why is selective cutting considered more sustainable than clear cutting? Again, you can find this answer in your lesson. In addition to, you can find out some really good information on this online. Again, I would just remind you to please make sure that you cite your source, either parenthetically or at the end of this question. And then finally, how can deforestation contribute to flooding and water pollution? And that just talks about the effects of deforestation, again, going back into the lesson or again on the internet, because the lesson does go over a lot, but there are other reasons that you can find online how deforestation can contribute to this. And again, I would just urge you to please cite that source so I know where you got it from. And again, parenthetically or at the end of the Word document. Okay, so for this, I'm looking for complete use of sentences, citations, and clear and cohesive thoughts. Okay, submitting it in a Word document or again submitting it down below in the answer box is fine by me. If you get stuck, I'll be more than happy to help you. I encourage you to please come into the VO, and we can talk about the questions and get you pointed in the right direction. And if you have any other questions or problems, please don't hesitate to email or call me. I'm always here to help. With that, have a great week, and we'll be back here next week going over another project.